Item B is approval of youth options applications for 2012-13.
I did embed the actual applications for you, and then there is just a summary sheet. We have 7 students interested in youth options classes for first semester next year. 1 student who's interested in taking 4th semester Spanish, which is a 5th year of Spanish when you're looking at the college level. That would be through UW Extension. It's an online course. And then the Certified Nursing Assistant Program, we have 6 students interested in that through WTC. So the cost for the semester would be about $4,200 or $4,300.
Do you need a motion?
Mm-hmm. We do.
So move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second then to approve the youth options applications for 2012-13. Any further discussion?
The CRNA program seems to be the most popular, CNA, program seems to be the most popular. Have we explored cost options of offering it within our district as opposed to paying out within, by the slow response, it would still be cost effective to do this?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, there was a time when they did offer it. Is that correct?
I recognize that nod from Greg. Yeah, ask and answer.
Well, we've done this just about every year.
Okay.
I know David Hay has been looking at what we can do to get the cost down on that, as well as when Mr. Lee was a principal at the high school, did a lot every year to try to keep those costs down because they can get expensive. And whenever if we could add staff to eliminate those costs, we would, but at this point in time, it's to our advantage to offer that course through youth options.
And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What are the guidelines for what falls within youth options? Is this the same? Some months ago, we had an application for someone who wanted to take a welding class.
It was the truck driving.
Or truck driving.
Yes.
And there was some discussion about what we felt fell within a continuation of high school studies that should be covered and what should not. And I'm just curious, if you can remind me, is it just a general philosophy we have, or is there a written guideline?
There are written guidelines. And for instance, a student cannot take a post-secondary class that is already offered in your school. They have to have maxed out on all the coursework that's available at the high school before they can enter that college coursework.
Coursework in that area.
In that area, yes.
And it's also not just a Tomah program, but rather state statute.
Okay.
Yes.
And so, of course, the 4th semester Spanish makes perfect sense because that, is beyond where we offer. But again, the CNA, that's an outside kind of the school district sort of a course, but yet it is integrated into those students who are going to go on and pursue something down a medical line often.
For some, a CNA course gets them certified, and that is their work after school. And for others, it's a preliminary to nursing.
Originated in the 1980s as part of talented and gifted initiatives along with state standards that the legislature set, and then it was expanded through the late 80s and 90s to include all other areas of the curriculum.
But they don't have to, there's no criteria by which they have to establish that this is part of a career.
Not necessarily a career, but they do have to establish that they have exhausted the curricula in the local school district in that area. You can't decide your senior year you want to take something. You have to have illustrated that you are pursuing a course of study and that's been exhausted or mastered. You've opted out of, or you've taken every option your local district offers.
That's the key, and if students have, then we're required by law to pay for their youth options. There's two other scenarios that I just want to point out real quickly. One is, one of the efforts that's been undertaken before I arrived and will continue is to try and bring youth options costs down, is to expand opportunities that we provide at the high school. So an example with the CNA program is we teach medical terminology now at the high school. That used to be a course that was, again, part of the CNA track that students would have to take at WTC, and that would either be a part of our program costs at that point in time, or now would be a part of our youth options costs. So that's bringing that down. The other piece is students will sometimes, and we just had one of these come up a couple weeks ago, decide that they want to take a class at WTC that we offer at the high school. And we've got students taking night classes there, and so they'll ask us, we know you can't pay for it, it's not part of youth options, doesn't qualify, but if I take this course there and they provide the transcript, will you let me earn high school credit for it? And so that's sort of a unique scenario that happens that we do honor as well. Again, we're not going to pay for it unless we're required to by state law.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
And WTC does have a condition that students, I believe we have to check the disciplinary record. It says check if a student has a record of disciplinary problems, and that applies to technical college courses. So there is that condition as well. The students who are all applying obviously meet these conditions to be able to apply.
Greg, any budgetary concerns here with us?
No, we plan for, on an annual basis, youth options, so there are not any real concerns there. If there were concerns, you still do not have a choice. You would have to approve the youth option. So it's really something, the only control we have is Mr. Hay and Mrs. Ardia said, is by providing those opportunities within the school settings. If those opportunities aren't provided, the students are well within their rights under the state statutes to pursue youth options. So, but for these particular requests, no, there are no budgetary concerns. And again, I have to emphasize, Mr. Me and Mr. Hay are very cognizant of the cost for these programs, and are always on an annual basis trying to keep those costs down by offering more courses within the district. So I'm very comfortable with the work those guys have done on budgetary costs to youth options.
You may have to refresh me here, Greg. I think we already had a motion and a second to approve those youth options applications for 2012-13.
Yes, and I did record them. So
Thank you.
I got them.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, then